Hello YouTube, Millennium X17 here. It's finally upon us. It's, as of right now, it's 8 p.m. Friday. This Monday's E3. I mean, finally here. So, yeah, a lot of information is going to happen next week, or at least one can hope so. But anyway, this is Millennium Soapbox, but it's also the beginning of the E3 videos. Like always, I'm going to watch the press conferences, and then I'm going to immediately, after watching them, turn on my camera and tell you what I thought. That's the entire point of it. A few years back, I think it was 2011. I'll put the link in the description, if I remember, an hour and a half and 2 hours from now, but one can hope. But what happened 2 years ago was, I started doing on Monday, it's always Microsoft, Ubisoft, EA, and then, no, Microsoft, EA, Ubisoft, and then Sony always finishes off. And then the very next Tuesday morning is usually Nintendo. This year, not Nintendo. They're having a Nintendo Direct, which I don't know if I'm going to cover that or not. The Wii U and all, which is just the wonderful bundle of joy that I knew it was going to be, all the way back when they first announced it at 2011, when they first announced the Wii U. That Monday, I uploaded a lot of impressions videos, and then, I'm not gonna say who, but somebody, prominent at Machinima, apparently had some kind of a series where they interview, smaller channels, what have you, to get the 411 on the smaller channels and what your channel's about and what you normally do and all that good stuff. So anyway, he approached me and, emailed me and said, would you be interested? And I did not reply that day because by that time it was just before Nintendo's press conference that morning, and I wasn't really paying attention to my emails. I usually once a day check my stuff like that. But long story short, I eventually do reply back to him, and I never really got a response back, which is kind of strange, but all the same, I replied to him a couple times, and then somebody else from Machinima, whom honestly I've never heard of before, emailed me back and said, don't bother. We don't support haters. Which, I'm like, what? Huh? I'm like, where did this come from? And the only thing between those impression videos on that Monday and when I got this like a week and a half later, between just those impressions videos and a couple other gameplay videos I put up, was my impressions video, and this is the link in the description, for specifically Nintendo's press conference that year. Their messaging was very unclear, and nobody knew what exactly the Wii U was. It was a big question mark as to what it is. Now, obviously now, we know it's a pile of shit. But back then, people were still optimistic. But here's the thing. What I did was they threw up a website during their press conference, and I didn't look at it because that's not the point. The point is to see what they messaged to me during that press conference, and then I bring it back right to this camera. And that gets right uploaded as fast as I can to YouTube. And apparently, because I wasn't positive to what Nintendo's message was, that made me a hater, which, go the fuck figure. And this is what brings me into this soapbox right here and now. The fact that, God forbid, if somebody actually shares their opinion on the internet and somebody doesn't agree with it, then all of a sudden you become a hater. This theological thing just blows my mind. I just don't understand it one bit at all. I own every console, with the exception of the Wii U, because I bought a Wii and it's collecting dust. I gave it to my sister. Guess what? It's still collecting dust. She uses it for, I think, Netflix, and that's it. So, I mean, that shows you how useful that console is. I'm not about to go out and spend another $300 on a console that's not going to be useful. Here's the thing. If one of the three things that I asked for on the pre-E3 show for Video Game Pulse 146, yes, it was 6. We just recorded it last night. One of the first thing was clear messaging. There is so much that can go right at this E3, but there's also, at the very same time, so much that can go wrong. This E3, there's 2 new consoles being released, pretty much. Microsoft already came out with the Xbox One, and it left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Everyone's freaking out about DRM, this, that, and the other thing. People forget that there was a rumor that the PS4 would be blocking used games way back in December Okay? A lot of people are like, well, I guess I'm getting a PS4 now, when Sony's come out and said that they're not going to block used games. Well, congratulations. Not blocking used games does not mean charging you a transfer fee like Microsoft. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And you've got to be very careful about how the messaging is done, which is why one of the things I asked for is clear messaging. This is the line in the sand. June 10th, the press conferences that these companies are holding, they cannot hold any information past this whatsoever. They cannot be coy, they cannot be muddled, they cannot be unclear. They have to come out and say, this is what the console does, and this is what the console does not do. And here's the thing, if they're not clear on any of those parts, I will bash the shit out of them company. I do not kiss any company's ass. Okay? The only reason why I played more 360 games this past generation is because I like the controller better. The controller is more comfortable in my hands. The PS3, I have nothing wrong with that console. It's just the controller's a little awkward. There's nothing wrong with that. But the thing of the matter is that if a company does something that does not make sense, like Microsoft, as they're approaching the cliff like lemmings about to fly off the edge, if they go through with this DRM like they are going through right now, like this transfer fee, if it's $5, it's going to piss people off, but it's not going to be that bad. Mostly because I buy most of my games new. It's very rare these days for me to buy a used game, which doesn't alleviate Microsoft from the guilt of that, fact, but if the transfer fee is what the internet is fearing, is the full $60 price, then people are going to shit themselves and lose their minds. And the Xbox One will just not sell. That would be suicide. But we don't know. And herein lies the problem. The reason why people are freaking out on the internet is because they were unclear about this transfer fee, during their, thing, 2-3 weeks ago. And the internet just went and made up a story themselves. And now that's the thing. Now, Microsoft absolutely has to address this. There's no two ways around it. They absolutely have to. Sony has to come out and do the same thing. But everyone's like, oh, I'm buying a PS4 now. Well, you don't know. It might do the same thing. They just haven't said yet. Sony, I think Microsoft also said that they've lifted up the discretion of the publishers, which, Activision and EA. What do you think they're going to do? I mean, seriously. It blows my mind. The more they come through with this DRM issue, the more and more they're like PCs. And at that point in time, the next consoles will be, $500? Which, if they're less than $500, I'll be surprised and impressed. They should be. $450 is a tipping point. $400 is awesome. But I don't think that would happen. That would be very surprising. But $500 at that end, they're low-end PCs, like extremely low-end PCs that cannot be upgraded, and you're stuck through a very specific set of accessories that can be attached to them. At which point in time, by clear chance, I just got a gaming computer and I finally got mine together and running. Just by sheer chance, I might have just done that at the right time unknowingly. Like it might have been the perfect time, and I might be so far ahead of the curve, it's not even funny. But I don't know that yet. So here's the thing. Come the press conferences, I'm going to watch them. If they throw up a website for auxiliary information, well, you best hope that that information isn't critical, because I'm not going to have time to look at that, because that's not the point. They're supposed to message to me why I need to buy a console for $500 after I just spent $4,000 on a new computer, why I should spend another, $1,000 between two different consoles and buy two separate, entirely different games that aren't going to be, intermingled whatsoever. There are no backwards compatibility, both with the Xbox One. Not only disc-based, but no Xbox Live compatibility. Really, Microsoft? That's fucking lazy. There's no excuse for it. So they're going to have to make a very big argument in a very, very big and clear way as to why I need to spend that much more money on a new consoles when I already have one that'll play everything that's going to come out probably in the next 5 years. I probably won't have to upgrade this computer for the next 5 years, and it'll still run everything. So, for what reason am I going to have to, spend the money? They're going to have to make a very good argument. And if they're wishy-washy about it in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to call them on that. And if that makes me a hater, so fucking be it. Because, whoa, God forbid, I said something bad about a company that somebody else really loves. The thing that just boggles my mind on the internet, if you have an opinion that it suddenly just makes you, you're just a hater. No, not necessarily. But if it makes other people feel better, so be it then. I don't know. There's nothing I can say to make them feel better. I don't kiss any company's ass, and I don't make any excuses for anybody's movements. If I feel that it's stupid if it's an immoral business practice for them to go and do and such, I'm going to say so. And there's no two ways around it. It just boggles my mind as to, the fact that now Microsoft, I find out now that Microsoft says that they're going to show more of their first party, their exclusives at Gamescom, which, wasn't it like a week ago they were supposed to be like, oh yeah, we're going to show a lot of games at E3. So what, more Call of Duty? And just what else? I just don't get it. There's rumors about another Halo game, which I don't see that happening. It's too soon for Halo 5, because if it is, guess what? It's rushed just for the money. And at that point in time, that's not a convincing argument. And like I said, I'm going to watch the conferences. I'm going to give you my opinion. If you don't agree with it, guess what? It's your prerogative to not agree with it. That doesn't make me a hater. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop. Now, a lot of people might think that, oh, well, you definitely burned yourself for an opportunity to get, like maybe some exposure on Machinima. Guess what? If they don't like me just because I said my opinion once, then they're definitely not going to like my opinion when I keep saying it over and over again. Because guess what? If you didn't agree with me the one time, there's no way that you're ever going to agree with me ever again.